Hello and welcome to the Learning Crypto YouTube channel. Just this week, VeChain has made 60% gains in its BTC pair. And in this video, I'm going to go through 3 altcoins, which I think have very good setups, not only in their BTC pairs, but also in their USDT pairs as well. So let's just get straight into it. VeChain, we did a video on this, one back in November and one back towards the later end of January. And I talked about this setup on the monthly time frame where we had come down, broken out of this monthly range high at about 65 sats. We came down, retested at support. This is what I talked about in January, held it at support, and now you can see the result of that bearing fruit. 60% gains in a single week. This is on the monthly time frame. We'll just go down to the weeks to show you. As you can see, from 62 sats, we peaked at 99 sats, just short of that 100 sats psychological level, but 60% gains in 1 week. Not too bad at all if you're holding VeChain. And of course, you know, Bitcoin dominance is very high at the moment. Whether it's topped out yet or not, we'll have to wait and see. But eventually we are going to see that rotation of capital from Bitcoin into altcoins. And you're going to see these alt BTC pairs that have been hammered down into the floor eventually bounce. And you're going to be able to make some nice Bitcoin gains with your altcoins. So as I say, let's go through the setups that I've identified so far. So if we take a look at BNB, this is the BNB BTC chart, and you can see we've deviated this key level here at around 6,400 sats. It was the top here back in February 2021. It was key support here in October before we finally broke below it. But as I say, we've now deviated back above. We've held it in January and we've held it this week. I think this may well be forming at some sort of double bottom here, and we are going to see that rally in the BTC pair. You can see the TP areas that I've already put up. So 35% gain if we were to make it up to that 9,300 sat level. You see that's a big level of previous support and resistance. Last visited back in June 2023, so potential sticking point there. Next one would be this clear level up at about 12,000 sats. You can see resistance May of 21, December 21, and then flip to support back here in Feb 2023. So that's about 12,200 sats. That's a 78% gain from here. Up here, the next one, the next TP, 16,000 sats. Again, big level of support and resistance in the past. Last touched it back in January 2023. That's about 136% return. And if we were to make it back to the all-time highs of just shy of 20,000 sats, you're looking at 186%. So really, really nice risk reward. And again, if you really wanted to, you could have this weekly level down here at 6,500 sats as your invalidation. A weekly close below that, cut your losses, and look for another setup. But I think the risk reward there looks fantastic. If we actually just take a look at what that loss would look like, you know, maybe 10 to 15% depending on how bad of a candle it might end up being. But you know, risking a 10 to 15% loss for a potential 100, 136, 186% gain is well worth it in my personal opinion. Also, if we just quickly take a quick fib from that bottom there up to the rally we had in December 2023, you can see that we are just sitting above that 618 level there, which we just front run slightly in Jan. So yeah, I think we may well have bottomed out here. Could be looking for a decent run. If we now take a look at the USDT pair for some confluence, you can see we're looking at breaking out of this weekly range high at about $340 or so. You can see massive level of support and resistance. It's the range high. We've not traded above this or had a weekly close above it, I should say, since May 2022, so almost 2 full years since we've got a weekly close above this. We did have a bit of a fake out here in October and November where we had a wick up to about $400 and then got back inside. So a weekly candle above $350, let's call it, would be very significant, and I think that would be your trigger. Maybe you want to wait for that as your trigger to enter, but I think that is a very good trade. And even just this in the USDT pair, let's take a look at some gains. If we make it up to that $450 mark, which I think will be a big resistance, about 27%, back to all-time highs, you're still looking at almost doubling your money at 90% return. So BNB looks like a really good setup at the moment. Next one, near BTC. Zoom out a little bit. So again, in fact, let's just zoom in and look at the TA first, then we can look at the gains afterwards. So I talked about this in my recent near videos, breaking out, wanting to buy back here. So it was back in October, November, I made the video. You want to buy before we break out this weekly range high. And it did hit this level of resistance in the near BTC pair at just shy of 10,000 sats, about 9,500 sats. We've retraced and we're just hovering above this weekly range high. Maybe we go slightly lower. and tag this weekly range high as support, although I personally wouldn't risk it for the sake of, what is it, from here down to there, about 10%, probably not worth it. I would probably look at least putting an initial position in and then maybe adding to it if we get down to this weekly range high. But again, if we take a look at the retracement from the bottom in here of October up to this impulse in December, you can see we're just again hovering right above that 618. So again, we may well have already bottomed and starting to rally. So let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at the potential gain. So back up to that level I talked about 9,200 sats, that's still a 44% gain. Then this next big level, about 22,000 sats. Again, you can see big level of both support and resistance throughout its history. That's a 242% gain. Back up to this level of 30,000 sats. Again, nice big round psychological number and a clear level of support and resistance. That is 365% from today's prices. Up here at, again, a big psychological number of about 40,000 sats. Again, big resistance in April 2022. That is a 500% return on your Bitcoin, which is absolutely huge. And then finally, up here, the all-time highs, about 47,000 sats before that big psychological number of 50,000 sats. That's a 625% gain on your Bitcoin from today. Now, of course, it's not going to go in a straight line. However, if you are looking for the long term, then I think right now is a really good risk-reward entry. As I say, we've already had the initial rally. We've come back down. We've retraced. How much have we retraced from this peak? Let's have a look. We've retraced 40%. We're just hovering above the 618, just hovering above that weekly range high support. I think now is a fantastic time to be looking at near BTC. And again, confluence with the near USDT pair. You can see again, broke out of this big level of $1.67. We also broke above this big level of previous support and resistance at $2.62. As you can see, we've come back down, held that as support, nice higher low on the higher time frames. And I think even, as I say, we've retraced from that peak. We did a 47% retracement. We're still about 25% off of that peak. So you're still buying a discount. Again, let's take a look at the fib as well. From that bottom down to the peak, you can see we just slightly front run the 618 on that spike, held that weekly level, made that higher low, and I think near USDT is going to get ready for another leg up. So again, if we just quickly take a look at some potential gains from here, back up to these highs is about 37%. This level up here about $5.75, 70%, and then another big level here at around $8.38. That's about 150%. So as you can see, not only the USDT pair but the BTC pair as well. Really, really good gains and really good risk reward. Again, easy invalidation. If we go back to the near BTC, if we get a weekly close back within this range, which I think is highly unlikely, but you never know with the strength of Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, maybe that plays out. Your invalidation weekly close back below that, again, similar to BNB, 10-15% loss maybe that you're risking for a potential 44, 242, 365% gain, etc. So really good risk reward in my personal opinion. And then finally, MATIC BTC, we'll go to the monthly time frame for this. So as you can see, we are holding these monthly range lows on MATIC at about 1,722 sats. We're still right there, so we've not really bounced that much just yet. So you're still getting in at a really good risk reward point. Again, easy invalidation is a close below this level. Now, obviously a monthly time frame is a long time to wait for a monthly close, so maybe you want to do it on a weekly candle close below this level. But yeah, still really, really good risk reward. Let's get into the weekly time frame. Have a look at some potential TP areas. So as I say, look, we're holding this level on the weekly time frame as well. So your invalidation is super close, weekly candle close below. Again, you're still looking at about 10% risk for a reward of the first TP up here. This big level of support and resistance, about 2,800 sats, is 60%. Another big level, support and resistance, 3,600 sats. That's 100% return, doubling your Bitcoin. Another big level here at 4,500 sats. Again, that's 150% return. This level here, we only got one weekly candle close above it. Lots of wicks into it, about 5,600 sats. And it sort of marked the top here back in February 2023. That is 5,700 sats. That's 223% return. And if we get back to these all-time highs, about 6,500 sats, you're still looking at 270% return from today's prices. And as I say, really good risk reward. You're right at the position of entry here, or the perfect entry here. And of course, as I say, invalidation, weekly or monthly candle close below that range low, cut your losses and jump out. If we go to the USDT chart and just look at the confluence, so we're in the big range. You could either break this down into two separate ranges where this weekly mid-range becomes the range low, and this obviously still remains the range high, and then you've got a separate range down here. So whether you look at this 77 cents weekly level as a mid-range or a weekly range low, still held this for since the 13th of November, and we've still held it at support, and now we're looking to finally start expanding up to that weekly range high and break out. So again, the USDT chart looks really good, as well as the BTC pair. Let's take a quick look at some potential gains. So from here up to the range high, about 25%, not bad for a little trade. Next trouble area is probably about $1.50. You can see that's a 60% return. Just above there, you've got $1.73 at 85% return. And if we just go all the way to all-time highs, you're still looking at a 213% return on MATIC from this point here today. So both the USDT and BTC pairs looking really good on all three of these pairs. I think they're a fantastic risk reward opportunity to try and grow your Bitcoin and of course your USDT as well. Nice clearing validations. You're getting in at a really good entry point. So yeah, well worth considering in my opinion. So if you enjoyed this video, please do like and consider subscribing to the channel. Helps us grow, and really do appreciate it. And of course, it means that you won't miss any future uploads. And finally, a big thanks to our sponsors at Blowfin Exchange, who have an exclusive offer of 15% cash back on deposits up to 500 USDT back to your account, but only if you use our link in the description below. There's no KYC requirements, and it's open to UK users. So be sure to check that out. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.